Hello again, it's Matt here from Velo Pro. Just another quick one for those of you just getting into wingless V6 sprints in Australia and you're wanting to check your pistons currently in your engine, or if you've bought a wrecker engine and you've pulled the heads off and you want to know what's in it, or someone may have put early pistons in a late block or vice versa. And you don't have verniers or a depth gauge, just make up this little tool, which is around about 91 millimeters wide. So just measuring from the side of the page 91 millimeters, drop a vertical line. Okay, measure down. This distance here isn't crucial, that's just big enough to hold on to basically to slip it down the bore. Measuring around about 20 millimeters from each side, and measure down from this line 6.5 millimeters. So you will cut along here, back up and across, and what you'll end up with is something that looks exactly like that. Okay, so that's what you're trying to achieve. Just a little depth gauge. Okay, so once you've got that cut out, now the early pistons have around about a 6.5 millimeter deep dish. The later pistons, which come further up the bore because the pin height's different, so the height from the center of this pin to the top of the piston, or the compression height if you like, is taller on the VR pistons, and on the VN Series 2 and VP pistons it's shorter and they have a smaller dish. So we just drop our tool. Now I just put a bit of a bend in mine, as you can see. Alright. And you can see there it sits pretty much perfectly on the outside, on the compression ring of the piston and in the bottom of the dish. Alright, you can see across there. So now if it was a later piston, you would have a gap 1 millimeter plus some underneath this gauge, so which have a deeper dish. So it's just a quick check you can do. If your bottom end is together and you want to know what pistons you've got and what dish you've got, you'll also want to measure get the piston right to the very top of its stroke, and measure from the top of the cylinder block down to the top edge of the piston to see how far down the block it is, which will give you an idea whether the block's been decked and machined before. So once you know these two things, it will help you decide what cylinder head you need and what combustion chamber size you need to put an engine together without going over the compression rule. So that's a little bit of a tricky one. Obviously try and make sure you've got clean the carbon off. You might need a razor blade or a good scraper and carefully scrape the carbon off, maybe just here, a bit in the centre and a bit on the edges where your little cardboard tool's going to sit, so that you get a more accurate reading. You could make this out of tin or aluminium, but cardboard's pretty easy and it works pretty quick.